for Around the Ozarks in 5, brought to you by Adventure Cave Tours. Live a day in the life of a real adventurer with Adventure Cave Tours. And the Springfield Greene County Park Board, reminding you to go play. Here are your hosts, Ethan and Sara Forhetz.
And it is Monday. Happy Monday to you. Hope your weekend was fantastic. Ours was pretty good, always too short. That's how it goes. But here we are to start a brand new week and start it with some news.
Yeah, believe it or not, it is September 11th, 22 years since the 9/11 terrorist attacks. Several local events happening today to remember the lives lost that day, nearly 3,000 people. College of the Ozarks is holding a memorial ceremony at 9 o'clock this morning at their Lest We Forget 9/11 Memorial. You can just show up for that. Also, the city of Marshfield is hosting their third annual Marshfield Remembers Memorial happening at Patriot Park. And the Springfield Area Memorial Stair Climb is not today, but it is coming up on September 30th. So you can make plans to participate in that.
Good for
All
them.
right. Yeah. Yeah, I know that I've done the Memorial Stair Climb multiple times. To be honest with you, I hate that it's not on September 11th. I know that they have their reasons. First of all, it's a work day for most people, but I always feel like it's a harder to get bigger numbers whenever it's not on the day. But I'm excited for the event at College of the Ozarks. I've gone to that before as well. It's powerful. It's powerful. They had, the year that I went, at least, they had 3,000 flags, like the miniature flags stuck in the ground. And College of the Ozarks is truly incredible about all different sorts of war and other significant event memorials, because I've been to a number of them. So I've not been to the Marshfield one. So good for them. This is their third annual. So hopefully they have a good turnout in Marshfield as well.
Well, it's very important that we not forget. And it's weird because it's getting to the point now where it seems so long ago. To me, it seems like such a distant memory that I can still conjure up that awful feeling of that day. But it really seems like a long time ago now to me.
Yeah. I was chit-chatting with a barista the other day, just making small talk, and somehow 9/11 came up, and she wasn't born yet when it happened. So that was interesting, I mean, nor were our children, but it was just interesting because she seems, like an adult, and she is an adult, but it was weird because I'm like, oh man. Yeah. So
Yeah.
All right. Morocco is also in the news, of course, in Northwest Africa. They are reeling after a massive earthquake, 6.8 magnitude earthquake there this weekend, Friday night. More than 2,100 people have been killed. That number is likely going to go much higher because there are people who are missing underneath the rubble. Springfield-based Convoy of Hope is assessing the needs right now. They do plan to help there with volunteers and relief supplies. It was that area's most powerful earthquake in more than a century.
Yeah, I was just talking with our international disaster specialist, and he was in the office yesterday on phone calls trying to figure out where to get the product that we can get it there the quickest. So maybe that's buying in a different part of Morocco. Maybe that's buying from a neighboring country and sending it over. It's all, and it also at this point is assessing the need. What are the greatest needs? Likely it's food and water. And in this case, like Turkey and Syria, it'll be a lot of tent supplies, sleeping bags, those sorts of things as people are displaced from their homes. But this comes as man, Convoy's been incredibly busy lately. We had wildfires in Washington State and in Canada, and then of course Maui. And then right on the heels of that was Hurricane Idalia down in Florida. We're still working on many of those fronts still, certainly Maui and Florida. So this is just the latest one on top of that. It seems like they keep coming. And there's a hurricane out in the Gulf right now. It looks like, I haven't seen it this morning, but it looks like it's going to curve out and go back to the Atlantic. But it's a very, very powerful storm.
Hurricane Lee, is that the one?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I read about it, and apparently it is going to intensify into a hurricane, but then likely dissipate again. So they are expecting it to strengthen and then hopefully weaken again as it gets closer to land.
Yeah.
That was the last I read on it from the National Hurricane Center.
Yeah, we'll see. Back here at home in the Ozarks today is the day that the issue of abortion faces two more legal challenges in the state of Missouri. The first is regarding the ballot language written by the Secretary of State's office, and the second challenges the fiscal note prepared by the Missouri Auditor's Office, which deals with the cost of abortion. The ACLU has challenged Jay Ashcroft's ballot language. In part, Ashcroft wrote, quote, "It would allow for dangerous, unregulated, and unrestricted abortions," end quote. Meanwhile, the ACLU's suggested language for the ballot says, in part, quote, "It would establish the right to reproductive freedom," end quote. So two very different tones, very different language, very different framing of the issue in general. So the court's going to be looking at that today because we all know language matters.
Yeah. Well, it is interesting because I read the full ballot language summary from each of those entities, and it is so different. They
Yeah.
are so different. And so for the court to weigh in, it's hard. Or I mean, the court does what it does, which we have the best in the world. But it's just funny because it sounds so political, no matter which one, no matter which side you're reading it from. I do not envy that position to try to make it factual, non-emotional, and non-political because
Not
it
an
seems
attempt,
impossible.
right?
Yeah,
Not an attempt to sway the person reading the question
right.
in
Which
one
is
way or
what you
another. Yeah,
aim to do as a journalist, but on
right.
an issue that is emotional, it's hard not to be emotional in your speech, about it. So anyway, we'll keep you posted on that because I have found it fascinating. This has been, a long time coming, and now we will see likely today what the court decides.
Yeah. City of Springfield is hoping to bring new life and vitality to Kearney Street, kind of like what it did for Commercial Street. The city's offering businesses that move to Kearney property tax abatements. The city's also sprucing up the area, hoping to attract new businesses on what is a pretty heavily traveled thoroughfare.
Yeah, lots of cars on Kearney, honestly.
Yeah.
So as far as foot traffic, not a bad place to be. But yeah, they can spruce it up a little bit and maybe get some new shops down there. All right. Well, speaking of growth and development, Christian County is going to break ground on Thursday morning at 10:30 on a new government plaza that's coming to Ozark. Christian County purchased 40 acres in 2020 that will eventually house the Christian County's operational staff, recycling center, and maintenance and storage. Plus, they are having a stormwater retention basin that will double. They designed it to also double as a small outdoor performance venue, which will be really cool to see. Honestly, the municipal campus, as they will call it, will occupy roughly half of the 40 acres, with the remaining half reserved for commercial development.
Interesting.
Yeah, go Ozark, go. That's exciting. Ozark has
Yeah.
such a weird layout. We've talked about that
Yeah.
before because it wasn't
Yeah.
master planned apparently. But I love Ozark and I love the downtown area. I love the square. But yeah, it's just such a long town. I mean, if you think about it,
Do
there are 3 exits for Ozark and they span miles on
well,
65.
do you know where exactly this is going to be?
No, I looked at the map of it, but I can't like pinpoint it in my brain. I'm not great unless you tell me a landmark. Like, tell me it's right
Yeah.
by the XYZ, you know?
Right. Okay.
So, if I would have known you're gonna ask that question though, I would have figured it out. I just didn't take the time. I'm sorry. Live television, that's what you get. All right. The IRS says that it'll start going after high income earners and large corporations. The agency says it'll intensify its enforcement onto those who have a total income above $1 million a year and also have more than $250,000 in tax debt. Plus, they're going to use AI to detect people who are cheating on their taxes. So watch out for that.
All right. Sound of Freedom. Go ahead.
Oh, that's me. Yeah, sorry. The very popular Sound of Freedom movie A lot of people saw that when it first came out. It's being pulled from the military's U.S. Southern Command. It canceled plans to view it after previously telling military families that they would have the opportunity to see it. The movie tells the story of former U.S. Homeland Security agent Tim Ballard, who left his government post to instead rescue children from the international world of sex trafficking that is horrific. The Southcom agency says the change was due to copyright concerns and is not political in nature. They said it is an important film. In fact, it is important even in their line of work, and that it is not political in nature, but they have gotten some pushback.
Yeah, that's odd. They won't allow anybody to see it. That's
Well,
or
they were going to go, they were going to
they won't.
show it there for
Yeah, they won't
them,
play it.
and
Right.
then they pulled it. Yeah, right.
Yeah, that seems odd. And okay. Well, I mean, there's lots of theories about lots of stuff, so this certainly doesn't help. I would go out of my way to allow that movie to be shown to avoid potential controversy. The football coach at the center of quite another controversy due to him openly praying on the field after ball games has resigned now his position from the high school football team in Washington. Joe Kennedy, you've heard of him, no doubt, cited multiple reasons for this resignation, including taking care of an ailing family member out of state and feeling like a stranger, he says, once he fought for the school that got him in trouble for praying. Coach Kennedy said, quote, I believe I can best continue to advocate for constitutional freedom and religious liberty by working from outside the school system. So that is what I will do, end quote. After initially getting fired for praying on the field, his case eventually went to the U.S. Supreme Court, and the court sided with him and his constitutional rights. His job was reinstated. The Supreme Court, of course, ruled that he could exercise his First Amendment right to pray wherever he wants, because he wasn't forcing anybody else to pray with him.
Even though they were, in fact, joining him.
They chose to, yeah.
Yeah, I watched an interview that he did, and it would be strange to stand your ground, fight the good fight, whether you're right or wrong, and it turns out he was right, but even if he thought he was right, I don't know, to kind of die on that hill, so to speak, but then to feel kind of like a stranger in a strange land. And he said that he recognized that he would feel that way. But I think it was surprising to a lot of people that he is now resigning after what was an 8-year legal battle, and then last year officially winning the case. And then I don't know. I do think it would be weird to ever fight with your employer. Even if you believe in your cause, it would be a strange thing to go against your bosses and the person who writes your paycheck. That would be difficult.
Well, yeah, it'd be weird to be reinstated and then have to live there.
Right.
But he's got great opportunities now. I'm sure he's going to write a book. He could go on the speaking circuit and certainly draw a crowd, given what he has gone through and the stand that he took. So he's going to have a lot of audiences, I think, looking forward to hearing from him and hearing his story firsthand.
Yeah. And on a much lighter note than that one, I remember after I got arrested on live television while reporting in Clinton, Missouri, I had some journalist organizations reach out and ask me to come speak to their group. And I was like, I am in fact not a hero. I didn't know what was going on. I wasn't like trying to like stick it to the man or anything. I just was doing my job. And I was trying to do that well, by the way, and feel like I was doing it fairly well. But do you remember that? And then like all these journalistic, well, I mean, do you remember the organizations afterward reaching out and asking me to come speak on, like journalistic integrity, freedom, privilege in this country? And I'm like, listen, I believe in journalism. The Constitution believes in journalism, right? We have to have a free press. We are designed to be watchdogs, checks and balances. I'm in, but I also don't know that I'm your poster child, because I wasn't like fighting with a cop on purpose until I was. And then down I went. Cuffed and stuffed right there, man.
Have we told this story on the podcast? Do people know what you're talking about?
I don't know. I got arrested in 2007 on the square in Clinton, Missouri, while reporting on a building that collapsed, and there was a meeting. So there were people inside when that building collapsed. And I was placed in an area by local police when I got to the scene at like 2 o'clock in the morning. And then fast forward till about noon, and I'd been there all morning long doing live shots every 5 minutes for stations all over, not just for KY3, but I was like live in St. Louis and Kansas City because we were the first on scene. And we were standing where local police placed us. But then the highway patrol took over the command. So then the highway patrol wanted us to move, but they told us that at 11:59:50. So AM leading up to that noon hour. So as the highway patrol trooper was telling me to move, my producer back at the station was in my earpiece, not knowing what was going on, saying that you are live in 10, 9, 8, 7. So I'm hearing the countdown in my ear. And in this ear, I'm hearing the police officer tell me to move. And so I'm trying to explain to him, if you'll give me just a second, like literally, if you'll give me 60 seconds, I will move. But it's like I didn't have time to explain to the producer what was happening and ask for permission from the trooper. So he was not messing around. He cuffed and stuffed me. And I went to jail. And Ethan was like, "What is going on?" Like, because Ethan happened to be out there too. Anyway, it was a riot. But afterward, it was just funny because so many journalistic organizations were calling me. And while I take journalism very seriously, it was just interesting because here I was, the poster child for something that I never intended to be the poster child for. That's all.
Yeah, I mean, it was a rogue cop. It was completely absurd to literally. I'm standing there because we're engaged at this point, so I'm standing there. I'm going to take over for the evening, and her shift, and take over the story for the rest of the night, and anchor there from 5 and 9 and 10 and 5 and 6. Uh, so I'm watching them, and as soon as she finishes her live shot, they put her arms behind her back. It was completely absurd. And her photographer put his arms behind his back, and they grab him by the arm and they start walking him away. Meanwhile, this is what made absolutely no sense. Is journalists aren't allowed in that area, right? Well, I was standing there. My photographer was standing literally right next to them. The newspaper reporter in Clinton was standing right there and
It was
actually
the
was
Kansas
taking.
City Star. It was a reporter from the Kansas City Star
Was
who
it?
is the reason. Yeah, because he took all these still pictures to show where
Right.
he was in relation to where we were. And I think that they were arresting us because our camera was more obtrusive than the still camera because, television cameras are this big and still cameras are tiny. Anyway, and so the Kansas City Star reporter is the one who kind of like saved the day in the end because we were
Yeah.
able to use his photos to show that we were singled out, because there were other journalists, like you said, who were not arrested, but we were just
Right.
my photographer and I. So
Yeah, I was in the exact same spot this
and
other
me, I
reporter
should
was.
say,
So
for you
I ended up
grammar
calling that
journalists here.
reporter in Kansas City and got pictures that we used at our wedding of you being arrested. So those went over very well.
Yeah. Anyway, just funny. So now back to Joe Kennedy, though. Like you're right, he will become the poster child as he should. As he should. Good for him. I'm excited for him. Excited for the opportunities that he will have to state his case. And guess what? To whom much is given, much is required. And the Supreme Court ruled in his favor. So let that be precedent for the rest of everybody who feels like silenced in terms of religious freedom. So, um, there you go. The highest court in the land said, "Go, Joe, go," basically. All right, we're going to end with this. A new shaved ice franchise is now open in Branson on the West 76th Strip, right by Wonderworks. It's called Bahama Bucks. It also serves smoothies and lattes. I'm excited to go taste it. Bahama Bucks has only one other store in Missouri, which is in St. Peters, by the way, but it is a chain. That shop is expected to employ 30 people.
Okay, shaved ice. I'll give it a try.
Me too. Yeah, I
Sounds
like
good to
shaved
me.
ice. And not all shaved ice stands are created equal. there is shaved ice that is better than other shaved ice sometimes. So I'm excited to see that one.
That's true. I hope you had a great weekend. I spent the day Saturday redoing the garage because I do it in spring and then I do it in the fall. I prepare the garage for winter because in the spring I move my Jeep out of the third garage and I take the top off, and all summer long I get to drive the Jeep and I put it in the main garage and I park outside. In the wintertime, I ain't going to park outside. So the Jeep goes into the other garage along with all the bikes, and we really cleaned it up. You were out of town Saturday and you came back Sunday. Were you happy to see that?
I was thrilled to see the garage. I was in Willow Springs enjoying the company. Loved being in Willow. It was awesome. I love that part of the Ozarks and the people.
You
And
spoke
yeah,
there
when
Saturday and
I
Sunday.
spoke there Saturday and Sunday, and then when I pulled into the garage, I was like, something happened. What is going on in here? I mean,
Yeah,
it's
a lot of work.
it's not like it's a junk pot previously. It's just so incredibly organized now. Someone asked me a question about how we organize our life, and I just laughed. I'm like, we don't. We are both spontaneous. We don't like a plan. We don't know what we're doing tomorrow. So I laughed at that. But then when I pulled in the garage, I was like, ooh, I stand corrected. Look how organized we are, ladies and gentlemen. So good job, babe. Thanks. Thumbs
The kids
up.
helped. The kids
Thumbs
were
up.
actually a big help.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Hey,
All
thanks
right.
for watching and listening. We appreciate you being part of the podcast. Share it with your friends. We'd love to have them viewing as well and listening. So hope you have a great Monday. And
yeah, don't forget about the 9/11 memorial services happening today. So check them out. Bye.
See you.